All right, today we're diving into a really bold new idea for how to tackle our planet's biggest problems. It comes from the Global Manifesto, and it's basically a new blueprint for how we can all work together in a world that's more connected than ever. So let's break it down.
And right here, this is the core of the problem in a single sentence. Think about it. We're dealing with massive issues that just don't care about borders, things like pandemics, climate change, huge economic shifts. But the way we govern ourselves, our politics, that's all still stuck within those national borders. And that mismatch, it's not just a problem, it's becoming seriously dangerous. This really shows you what that mismatch looks like. You know, climate change needs a single coordinated global plan, right? But what we have is a totally fragmented system of national interests. A pandemic needs everyone to work together seamlessly, but instead we all retreat into our own little silos. It's this deep disconnect that this whole manifesto is trying to fix.
So how do you even begin to bridge a gap that big?
Well, the manifesto lays out a whole new vision for how we can organize ourselves on a global scale, and it all starts with this idea of global governance.
Now, when you hear global governance, let's be super clear. This is not about a single world government or anything like that. Instead, it's a framework that's built on one really important word: cooperation. It's about creating a system where governments, businesses, regular people, everyone can actually work together effectively.
And this new system is built on a few core principles. Now, these aren't just buzzwords they're throwing around. They're meant to be the actual foundation. So, cooperation is how it works, but the goals, the whole point of it all, are things like justice, inclusivity, and equity. The idea is to build a system that genuinely works for everybody, not just a select few.
Okay, so principles are great, but you need a real, practical way to actually put them into action, right? And this is where the manifesto gets really interesting and specific. It introduces a totally new model for actually getting stuff done.
Which leads to the big question. If this idea of global governance is the car, what's the engine that's going to make it go? How do you take this huge vision and turn it into something that actually works in the real world? And the answer they propose is something called Global Solution Networks, or GSNs for short. The easiest way to think about them is like special task forces for the planet's biggest headaches. Each GSN is a network dedicated to one specific problem, and its job is to bring all the right people together to solve it as a team.
And who is at the table is absolutely key here. This isn't just about politicians and diplomats meeting in a fancy room. The whole point of GSNs is to include everyone. You've got businesses with their resources, NGOs with their boots-on-the-ground knowledge, top thinkers with their expertise, and crucially, even local communities. Everybody gets a seat.
All right, so if you have that many different groups in one network, you need a pretty smart structure to keep it all from turning into total chaos. So, how are these things actually designed to work?
The design is actually a really clever mix of two different approaches. You've got what they call vertical governance, which is more of a traditional top-down structure. That's for being efficient within one area, like global health. But then you also have horizontal governance, which is all about getting different sectors to collaborate. Because we all know a health crisis isn't just a health crisis. It's also an economic crisis, a social crisis, and so on.
And the whole thing operates on 4 connected layers. It kicks off at the global level, where they set the big picture standards. Then, it moves down to the national level, where countries figure out how to make those strategies work for them. Then, and this is so important, it goes all the way down to the local level, so solutions are actually implemented with input from the community. And wrapping around all of it is a legal layer to make treaties and, actually hold everyone accountable.
So, what does this all add up to? If we actually put these networks into place, what would they do? What would their real impact be on how we solve the world's biggest problems?
Well, what GSNs are designed to do, really, is to become the world's problem-solving command centers. They set the rules of the game for everybody. They coordinate all the different efforts so people aren't working against each other. They pull together money, people, and technology for the biggest possible impact. But most importantly, they create a collective power that's strong enough to take on challenges that no single nation, no matter how powerful, could ever hope to solve on its own. I mean, the ambition here is huge. This quote from the manifesto really says it all. The goal is a system of governance unlike anything we've ever had, one that's truly built for the 21st century by using technology, collaboration, and accountability.
And when you boil it all down, this is why it matters. The entire framework, from the big principles all the way down to the nitty-gritty structure of the GSNs, it's all aimed at one single goal: building a more just, sustainable, and resilient world. And it's all based on this core belief that we can only fix our biggest problems if we finally accept that it's our shared responsibility to solve them.
So it's a fascinating blueprint for sure, and it leaves us with a really powerful question to think about. As our problems become more and more networked, doesn't it make sense that our solutions should be too? Could this idea of shifting from a world run by nations to a world solved by networks be the key we've all been searching for?